It's a new day for the Dodgers, and a beautiful day at that in Cincinnati for Game 3 of this 4-game series between the Dodgers and the Reds. After the Reds handled LA over the first 2 games of this set, San Francisco plays later tonight in their finale against the Mets, and so the Dodgers with a chance to draw even with the Giants with the win today. We say welcome inside with Oral Hershiser. I'm Joe Davis. Kelly Tennant joins us in just a moment. You go back to Philadelphia Tuesday and Wednesday to open this road trip, and the Dodgers scored 22 runs in those 2 games, but limited to just 3 over the first 2 games of this series, trying to get it going today.
They do. This is the top slugging team in the National League since the All-Star break, and they need to get it going. These 2 games against the Reds are huge, and they've got to turn it around and turn around in a hurry. Corey Seager had a day off, got a pinch hit last night, came right off the bench, saw 1 pitch, got a base hit to left. They need to get his bat going again, and hopefully he'll get 4 or 5 at-bats today and really get it going. Adrian's power during this 13-game hitting streak has been exceptional, really starting to pull the ball and get it into the air, and when he gets it in the air, he beats the shift, and that ball over the wall beats the shift anytime. Justin Turner swinging a hot bat, not of late, but has gotten some hits, a double here and there, but he got some big flies in Philadelphia, and you want to see that here in Cincinnati, and Yasmani has been the silent assassin at the bottom of the order. We need the catcher to continue to lengthen this lineup.
We'll try to do it against Anthony DeSclafani, who's been really good for Cincinnati. He'll face off with Julio Urias for the Dodgers, and when we come back, Kelly Tennant tells you about a connection between a young pitcher like Urias and this city of Cincinnati. Cincinnati, right in the Ohio River, just north of Kentucky. It's game 3 of this 4-game series, the Dodgers and the Cincinnati Reds. Dodgers trying to get in the win column in this series after Cincinnati took the opener 9-2 and then won last night 11-1. Starting lineups brought to you by Honda. Dave Roberts sends a little bit different looking group out against a right-handed pitcher. Chase Utley's at the top and Corey Seager's in the 2-hole. Justin Turner hits third, so it's unchanged at the top, but where it's different is in the middle. Gonzalez is hitting cleanup. Grandal bats 5th. Josh Reddick, after the day off, slides down into the 6th spot. And Andrew Tolles, who was called up today, makes a start as a left-handed hitter against a guy that has struggled against left-handed hitters this season. And still have to take the field. Reds a little bit behind today. That guy's Anthony DeSclafani, though. But the Dodgers will face off with here in game 3. Here he comes. Dodgers trying to play to run against a Red starter for the first time in this series. It was Tim Adelman that went 5 shutout innings on Friday. And then Brandon Finnegan last night took a no-hitter into the 7th. Before the rain came after 7 scoreless innings. DeSclafani's 26. He's out of Freehold, New Jersey, and he missed the first 2 months of the season with an oblique injury that he suffered towards the end of spring training. Had a setback during his rehab, so that pushed him back even more. But Orel, in his 13 starts since returning, 10 of them quality starts.
He's been throwing the ball very, very well. Made 31 starts last year with an ERA over 4, but now the ERA is down and the arsenal/repertoire has changed. He tried to really bring his changeup along, was a little bullheaded about that, but the league did not like. They liked hitting off that changeup. So what he's done now for his off-speed pitch, it's more about the curveball when he changes speed. So he's a fastball slider mix guy, and his off-speed pitch to get you off the hard stuff is the curveball. He has thrown the ball very well since coming back, and he and Homer Bailey, the next 2 starters, are really the strength of this Reds rotation. So that makes a big hill for the Dodgers to climb to get out of this losing streak.
Our closed captioning is brought to you by Shumash Casino Resort, where we are all about you. The defense behind Anthony DeSclafani this afternoon, presented by Clamato. Joey Votto out of the lineup. Dodgers get a bit of a break there, and Ivan De Jesus Jr. starts at first.
He slipped in there for Joey Votto after the rain delay yesterday. Made a nice pick. Has shown that he can handle the glove over there at first base. Gives them a little bit more range too than Votto.
Dodgers 67-55 and a half game back of the Giants, who play tonight 5 o'clock West Coast in the finale against the New York Mets. Chase Utley stands in. DeSclafani delivers, and away we go with strike 1, called by Jim Reynolds behind the dish today. Utley, after having last night off, is 2 for 4 in the series opener on Friday. 1-1. Dodgers have dropped 3 in a row for the first time since early July. Have not lost 4 games in a row since mid-May. Reds, meanwhile, riding a season-long 5-game winning streak. Second best record in the majors since the All-Star break. Only the Cubs have been better. There's their manager, Brian Price. 3rd season, final season of his contract. Plenty of heat on him. Utley hammers the ball way back to right field, and just what the doctor ordered for this offense. Utley leads off the game with a solo shot.
The overall numbers for Chase Utley have been solid, but the most spectacular thing about his year are moments like this. He is there when the club needs him. Rise to the occasion in Philadelphia with 2 curtain calls, the grand slam, really got them on track offensively there, and that was a spark to start this game that they needed.
Corey Seager now attacking the first pitch, fouling it off, strike one.
High fastball, not easy to elevate, but you might pop it up. But he did a great job being able to hit that ball on the line.
It's his third home run of the trip. He had the 2-home run game in his first game in Philadelphia on Tuesday. Legendary, memorable stuff. And now here on this Sunday afternoon, with the context surrounding it, a little bit different than your average solo home run. Seager down on 3 pitches. You see that slow curve that DeSclafani features for the first out.
Last year threw the changeup, the straight change, about 10–12% of the time. Now the changeup is barely used, and that curveball has gone up to about 20% of the time he'll throw it.
The changeup is about 8 miles per hour on average faster than his curveball.
Which is too hard because it's normally around 87 and his fastballs average around 93. So it's really, the changeup's just a bad fastball.
Justin Turner off the end of the bat, right back to him. 2 out. DeSclafani made his major league debut against the Dodgers back in May of 2014 while he was with the Marlins. And got the win in that debut. Got some support from his offense. Miami poured on 10 runs against Paul Maholm, who was the Dodgers starter that day. So here's Gonzalez. The fastball misses away, ball 1. Adrian trying to extend that 13-game hitting streak, hitting above 400 during that stretch. There's the change, 1-1. CB Buckner down at third says that he offered. Yeah, Gonzalez behind 1-2. Ruffled some feathers last night, Buckner did. And hearing it from the third base dugout already. Home plate umpire Jim Reynolds just shouted over there, and you could hear it clearly on our field microphones. Guys, none of that. Two and two. Rarely is the chirping that you hear in a dugout from one pitch. It's from a cumulative effect over a weekend.
Yeah, it's really the residue from the last strike call of the night last night when CB Buckner rang up Jock Peterson.
That ball smashed to center, but it's right at Hamilton, and his first inning comes to a close. But Chase Utley gives the Dodgers their first lead of this series and their first run against a Red starter in this series with a home run, and it's 1-0 before Julio takes the ball. First time this weekend, and the Reds coming to bat for the first time with his Honda starting lineup. Billy Hamilton at the top of it, all 3 games in this series so far. Jose Peraza, big night last night in his first game back from the minors. Adam Duvall went deep. Then it's Suarez, who's had a nice weekend. DeJesus and Holt both getting rare starts. And Barnhart doing the catching for DeSclafani. Julio Urias turned 20 last Friday. Made a relief appearance the following afternoon, but here is his first start as a 20-year-old. What a crazy second half it's been for him when you look at the different roles and the different stops for him. Made 1 start for the Dodgers and then was sent to AAA, where he made 2 relief appearances. This is his 4th game back with the Dodgers, and he's gone relief, start, relief, and now a start again. And ball 1 to Billy Hamilton.
They're looking for a little bit more length from the rotation. 17 games in August, only 3 times have we had a starter go 6 innings or more. The young man has a lot on his shoulders today. He's gone 6 innings just once this year. That was in his 7th start, and it was his first big league win back on June 28th at Milwaukee.
Here's his 1-1. It's up, 2-1. Now, part of that is him learning to be efficient, but part of that is him protecting his arm. That's also the only game that he's thrown 100 pitches. That 6-inning game at Miller Park. His 2-1 to the speedster Hamilton, misses away. Hamilton has reached to start both games and came in to score on home runs both times. Three and 2. Grandal's got pounded as far as tips off of the mask this weekend.
He sure has. What was it? 3?
Friday
the
night.
other day, Friday night. Wow. That is dead central.
Billy Hamilton turning into one of the more dangerous leadoff hitters in the game. But Urias gets him with a fastball for an extra important first out. You put Billy Hamilton on base to start an inning. That's almost as good as giving Cincinnati a run. Now, the defense for the Dodgers is brought to you by Clamato. Andrew Tolles is back and starting in left.
Good range out there. Howie Kendrick getting a day. Andrew's got a very strong arm for a left fielder. Really, there's nobody out there in the outfield that the Dodgers can't cut down with a base hit with a man on second. Tolles, of course, left-handed batter. He's checking his alignment card right there. He brushes up on the Reds.
Jose Peraza, the batter. 1 ball and 1 strike. Back-to-back starts for him since getting called back up from AAA yesterday. 2 singles and a home run in his first game back last night. Peraza made his big league debut with the Dodgers last year. Played 7 games after they acquired him from the Braves. He was traded twice in a 1-year window. First in that deal before the deadline from Atlanta to the Dodgers, and then the 3-way deal in the offseason where Todd Frazier went to the White Sox. Dodgers got Trace Thompson among others. Peraza came here to Cincinnati with Scott Schebler. Jam shot into center. It'll sink in, a base hit. Peraza with a 1-out single against Urias.
Gets it in there, a little bit off the label, but just pulls his hands in enough to get the ball in the air. And Peraza's actually glad he didn't hit it well. It'd probably been an out.
Urias with a career-high 96 innings thrown now between AAA and the majors. Previous career high was 87 2/3 in 2014. His age 17 season, keep in mind. And Now he faces the veteran Brandon Phillips and misses ball one. Urias has said this is the hardest that he's ever had to work. He knew that the innings would go up and is trying to prepare himself physically for it. Threw 80 1/3 last year, in a year that, as it's been well documented, was interrupted by another surgery on the benign mass behind his eye. That ball's yanked foul, and it's 1-1.
Young man's been through a lot, and he is very poised. There doesn't seem like anything has overwhelmed him. He's not backed down when he's had difficulties out there. And he looks like he's growing and learning every single inning that he pitches.
That's something Dave Roberts talked about before the game today, the maturity of Urias and how it's grown even within this season. He's got a good pickoff move, and he's got him at first. Now Peraza's gone for the second out.
He steps in the direction of first base, but he does give a little lean like he might be going home. That's what makes this deceptive. You see the weight shift towards home, but the step towards first, so that's not a balk. He borderlined it right on that 45-degree line so that it does get credited as stepping to first. Very nice move.
This 1-1 to Phillips, Hills, and it's 2-1. It's a kid that just turned 20 years old against 35-year-old Brandon Phillips in his 15th major league season. Brandon was only 20 when he debuted with the Cleveland Indians. Late protective swing, 2-2.
The age comparison of these two, the pitcher and the batter, is a good example of how you have to be really good multi-generational once you get to the big leagues. You know, you play against your own age group at almost every level. College, yeah, it separates by 4 years. Minor leagues separates by 4 years. But here you have a 14-year difference almost?
Yeah,
15-year difference?
Right.
And this is the only place on earth you're really going to ever have a 15, 20-year difference of people playing in the same league. And so it's not about just being the best of your age group. It's about being one of the best of the last 3 or 4 age groups.
He got in on him, but Phillips pulled his hands in and pulled a base hit into left center. The second time Red has been able to muscle a single.
Julio is not scared of getting the ball in on these hitters, and that's a good sign for a young pitcher. Just a veteran hitter right there, strong enough to find some grass again. But this is a hot hitting Reds lineup, so if he can keep the ball off the barrel like that, he's got a chance to have a successful outing today.
First time facing Adam Duvall, who's third in the National League in home runs. Right at Justin Turner, and that finishes the first inning. So a scoreless opening frame for Julio Urias, and after one in Cincinnati on a Chase Utley home run, the Dodgers in front. off the Dodger half of the second in a 1-0 game. Joe Davis, Orel Hershiser, Kelly Tennant on what is a perfect day here in Cincinnati after the rain and the storms moved through last night. Grandal goes after DeSclafani's first one and fouls it off.
Beautiful day game after a night game, another day game tomorrow. Dodgers need to win both of these games to split the series and to get some momentum going into the San Francisco series at home.
Giants will be off tomorrow after they finish up their series with the Mets tonight. And so the Dodgers and the Giants, when they play on Tuesday, will be even as far as games played. Right now there's that half-game difference. Here's a 1-1, and Grandal with an awkward swing over a sharp break. 79 on that curve, 1-2.
He didn't throw it much last year, so these guys aren't used to seeing it yet. So it'll be a little interesting once they see it second time, third time around the order. DeSclafani splits when it comes down to that first, second, and third time through the order are reverse of most pitchers, where most pitchers struggle to get through the second and third time and the numbers start to go up. DeSclafani actually batting average against goes down.
Pops Grandal up in that bright sunshine. This isn't easy, although Suarez at third makes it look like it is.
Take a look at the numbers on DeSclafani as he goes through the order. The 282 first time around, and as he gets a feel for the game and the hitters, gets them thinking. 262 and then down to 236. Usually you start to watch those creep up, and when the third time around the order, sometimes you see him jump by 100 points, where guys really struggle third time around the order.
Josh Reddick looking at a strike.
A lot of times the fourth time around in the order, the numbers plummet, because a guy who makes it the fourth time around the order, he's probably having a very dominant game.
And Reddick strokes a line drive to center right at Billy Hamilton, but he squared it up. And I know folks at home are sick of hearing us saying squaring it up, and I'm sure he's sick of that being a fallback for him. And Dave Roberts moving him down to the 6th hole after a day off, so he had the reset of getting to watch the game yesterday besides the pinch hit appearance, and now another reset by being in a different, less high pressure spot in the order.
I like the fact for the Dodger offense and for Josh Reddick of getting him out of that middle of the order, because you do get so many key RBI slots in that 4 hole where you've got a man on third and less than 2 out, and you got to get that easy RBI. And right now, the way he's swinging it and the luck he's had, get him down at the bottom, take the pressure off, let him build himself back up.
Jock Peterson 0 for 4 last night with 4 strikeouts. It was the first 4 strikeout game of his career. 1 ball and 1 strike. Although the 4th punch out finished the game, and it was not a strike. C.B. Buckner rung him up on what should have been ball 4. But the box score doesn't lie. It was his first 4K game, which bucks a trend that's developed positively for Jock and the Dodgers this year. It is a much improved contact rate. In fact, he's improved his contact percentage year to year, better than any player in a decade. 2-2.
Really happy for the young man, because he has put the work in. He's tried to bend everybody's ear he can. He's got some great role models around that are really helping him out, along with Turner Ward. You got Adrian Gonzalez. I think Chase Utley has really helped him visually, just seeing Chase's approach every at bat every day.
And DeSclafani gets him to the back foot for a 1-2-3 second. He's retired 6 in a row since Utley's leadoff homer. Urias in the first, but no damage done. Dodgers in front 1-0 to the bottom of the second.
An outstanding pickoff move from the young man. That means there's been a few guys on there, but to pick him off 5 already, there's some deception to his move. And I think it's the little bit of a lean that he takes, like the weight is going towards home. Most guys can't do that and still step to first.
Eugenio Suarez, 5, 6, and 7 for the Reds in this inning, and there's ball 1. Ryan Price has stacked his lineup with 9 right-handed hitters today. That includes a couple of switch hitters, but obviously will bat right-handed against the lefty. Taking a look at Urias's splits, and they are like DeSclafani's counterpart today, Stark. Right-handers hitting above 300. Left-handers barely above 200 against him. 2-1.
The breaking ball is big and it's sweeping, which is going to give the lefties trouble. The fastball location to lefties, he can actually throw the ball low and away, so that combination is really tough on them. And you see that breaking ball right there to righties. To a righty, the breaking ball being big actually gives them a clue, and then it has a pattern and it's coming into them, so it's a little easier for them to see. And he has started to slowly tighten up the breaking ball to righties, make it more like Clayton Kershaw's slider. You see that right there. That's a la Clayton. And so instead of throwing the big loopy kind of backdoor curveball, which he came to the big leagues with, he's really starting to shorten it and throw the harder slider, the tighter one, which is going to give righties a lot more problems. Just part of the growing, that you learn how the big league hitters react to your pitches, and then you make your adjustments.
Suarez fouled that ball off his foot, taking a minute here to recover from it. Julio gave up those 8 runs over his first 2 outings. He made his big league debut against the Mets in New York, and then had to go face the Cubs at Wrigley. And so his numbers are skewed some by those first 2 games. You get rid of those, his ERA is 3.5. Continue to adjust, continue to mature in his age 19 season. And he strikes out Suarez for the first out of the second.
Just the fastball into all the righties today. He's given up 2 jam shot hits, and now this one gets it farther in there, learning from the other at bats that maybe I got to go a little bit farther in there, risk not getting a strike call, but also not giving up a hit.
On to Jesus Jr. Hitting 6th today, making the start in place of Joey Votto. And the Dodgers catch a pretty significant break. With Votto not in the lineup, he's been the top hitter in baseball over the last 2.5 months. 1-1.
You see Joey Votto not in the lineup, and the way he's been swinging the bat, and even just overall in his whole career, it changes your mentality as a pitcher. It changes your confidence. It changes your pitch selection throughout the game. And then not only no Votto, but it hurts the guys that would have been around him. The guy in front of him and the guy behind him are going to get pitched to differently.
The Reds have played this series so far without their shortstop, Zach Cozart. They're still dealing with some soreness a year after his knee surgery. 2-1 on the way, into Jesus lifts it foul. 2-2. Even with Cozart out of the lineup, with Duvall out of the lineup on Friday. The Reds with 20 runs in the first 2 games of this series. That's the most allowed by the Dodgers in back-to-back games this year.
The most hits given up by the pitching staff last night in 1 game this year.
18 of them. On 2-2. Down the right field line. Reddick's over. Out of room. On to Jesus Jr., whose father played for the Dodgers and who was drafted initially by the Dodgers. Played in a handful of games in his debut for LA. Now in his second season with the Reds. Urias pumps him another 2-2 and gets him. Tightens it up, drops it down. Back-to-back Ks to open the inning.
That is the sharper, tighter breaking ball. Slider low and away, disappears down below the knee, right at the knee.
So he has 3 strikeouts. And now it's Tyler Holt. Starting in place of Scott Schembler in right today. Former Florida State Seminole star. Started in every game of his career down there. And that's something, because that's one of the premier programs in all of college baseball. Helped them to a couple of College World Series appearances. And falls behind Urias 0-2. Protective slap at the ball, and it goes wide. Still 0-2. Urias really attacking over the first 2 innings here.
I'm really impressed with his location. He really has changed his spray pattern. Before it was more about good location but not real good command, so he was throwing strikes but getting too much of the plate. But here today he is on the edges or just off. Exceptional command. Good fastball right there. 0-2. He's gone up there, up and away. One he gets a protection swing. That one he cut it loose, but that would be hard to catch up to. It's not so high that it's just a complete non-competitive pitch out of his hand, and it's not so low that it's a mistake. It's perfect.
Only his 13th major league game, only his 11th major league start. Trying to strike out this side in the second. Here's his 1-2. Good to see Julio has his glasses this time around. Pitching in Denver a couple of weeks ago. His bag hadn't arrived yet after a quick call up from Oklahoma City, and went and pitched in relief without his glasses. Had to go up and bat as well. Dave Roberts said after the game that he didn't know until after the fact. Somebody said, do you have any second thoughts about sending him out to pitch without the glasses? And he said, I didn't know, but where I really should have had second thoughts is sending him up to the plate without the glasses. 3-2.
And I think the glasses will always be in his carry-on from now on, not in his checked baggage. But hopefully for him, he'll be riding charters the rest of his career, not going up and down.
Holt has fallen behind 0-2. He's worked the count to 9 pitches now. Urias delivers. And a fly ball to right center. Reddick and Peterson. It's Reddick to make a running catch. 1-2-3 go the Reds in the second. Couple of scoreless innings on a day where the Dodgers need length from Julio. And we welcome you inside. Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser, and this game's gotten off to a much better start than the first two.
Yeah, game one we give up 3 in the first. Game two we give up 4 in the first. 5 home runs over those games, and Julio Urias has restored some order to the pitching and the defense for the Dodgers so far, and Chase Utley has provided the 1 run so far, and they need to get a W today.
Andrew Tolles leading off this inning, his first at bat of this most recent major league stint. Anthony DeSclafani delivers a fastball that's pulled to second. Diving play Phillips, but it gets by DeJesus, and Tolles aboard to start the third. His speed put pressure on Phillips to get rid of that ball quickly.
DeJesus filling in for Joey Votto as we watch Brandon Phillips limp a little bit getting up there, but Andrew Tolles busted out of the box. A lot of disappointment once you see that ball gloved up, but he doesn't give up. He keeps hustling down the line and could not get the pick there. Busted out of that left-handed batter's box.
And he was hitting really well in Oklahoma City, part of the reason that he earned the call-up today. Urias lays one down, foul. It's a good thing that it was, because Barnhart went to second and was going to get the force. Well, Tolles in his most recent AAA stint, which is the last couple of weeks, was hitting around .350. So you combine that hot performance over a couple of weeks stretch with DeSclafani's struggles against left-handed hitters. He's the perfect guy to come up today. That one's laid down perfectly. DeSclafani throws Urias out with Phillips covering at first. Tolles moves into scoring position, and Chase Utley comes to the plate as we look at our top-tier play, brought to you by Arco. His home run starting this game.
Up fastball, pulls it, sparks the Dodgers. And Chase Utley with his 3rd home run of this road trip. A couple in Philly, and now this one here in Cincinnati. And I'd have to say the biggest one of all of them, not the most eventful with his homecoming in Philly, but the biggest one so far, the road trip for the Dodgers.
It's as if the 37-year-old veteran said, "I got this, guys." Back in the lineup after a day off yesterday. I got you. Strike one. His 11th home run of the season. Chance at an RBI here in the 3rd. And he pulls a base hit to right. Off one bounce, Holt has it. Tolles flying for the plate. He'll score standing, and Utley read the throw to take second. RBI single for Chase Utley, and it's 2-0 Dodgers, all behind Chase.
The most consistent baseball player that I have ever seen play. Chase Utley.
Wow.
And I don't mean just in ability. I think it really in approach, in concentration, in mannerisms, in the way he goes about his business every single day, preparing for the game, video, stretching, out early before the national anthem, on the bench, getting used to the big league arena. And it doesn't surprise you that when it's a big moment or he's needed, that he doesn't melt down.
Most consistent player you've ever seen.
I think so. Thought that when he was on the opposite side of the diamond, but now that you get to see him every single day, it's absolutely amazing how consistent he is, and that is so hard being part of the human race. And you can say that about him even when you see him take an offer. Boy, this guy at the plate is so lucky to have him as his mate out there in the middle of the infield and as a role model.
Here's an 0-2. Seager gets a piece. Yeah, because I'm glad you mentioned the point about even when he takes an offer at the plate, because people's natural reaction will be, since a really good first 2 months, the numbers would say he's not that consistent.
No, he's just such a consistent individual. and the emotions. He hits a home run to win a game. He's going to run the same speed around the bases. He's going to shake the hands of his teammates the same exact way.
And it's to Dave Roberts' point earlier in the week. More than any player Dave Roberts has been around, he said, you have to dive deeper than the numbers to see the value that Chase Utley brings.
When there's a bad personality on your team, there's like an elephant in the locker room that, you know, a lot of times people can't speak about, but it just has an impact throughout. Well, when Chase Utley goes about his day of arriving into the locker room and then going through the day to the food room, to the training room, to coming out to the bench, to BP, there's an impact because everything has a purpose. And it's not a light moment. He's coming to work. Doesn't mean he doesn't laugh back there. He doesn't mean he doesn't get along with his teammates and have a great time at times, but he has a purpose. And that purpose, because he executes it in his own life, it is infectious and is a great elephant in the room when he's in there.
His home run today, by the way, was his 11th this season. He's only had more than 11 once over the last 6 years. It was in 2013.
I'm so glad he still wants to play next year.
Yeah. On 1-2. Seager goes the other way with a line drive base hit. Utley gets the wave. Here's the throw to the plate. It's cut off for an RBI single from Seager. Makes it 3-0 Dodgers.
Subtle example of how prepared he was at second base. That's a line drive to left over his head as a runner, and he no hesitation. He had studied the outfielders, knew exactly where he was going to break, if he was going to break, how the ball is hit, and am I going to run right away? There is no glancing out there. It's just taken off right at the crack of the bat. He knew exactly where the left fielder was playing, and if the ball was hit just barely to his right, it's going to drop. No stutter steps with his face out there to left field to make sure what's going on behind him. He already knew. He put his head down and was gone.
And it was not close. Justin Turner taking a ball.
On a play like that, with 50% of the base runners, 75% of the base runners in the big leagues, they are taking extra secondary leads. They're glancing over their shoulder to make sure it's not going to get caught. And now they're putting the third base coach in a precarious position because the ball's hit so hard. Can I send him or not? Chase took that right out of the equation right there. Knew exactly when to go, if he could go, and it didn't matter how hard it was hit. He's going to make it.
Corey Seager's hit gives him a 12-game hitting streak. Well above 450 during that stretch. Ball on a strike on Turner now. Dodgers trying to draw even with the Giants in the West with a big series with San Francisco starting on Tuesday. San Francisco plays New York later tonight. On 1-1, they want to come inside. Turner pulled his hands in, blooped it in the air to Hamilton. So the Dodgers, who exploded for the 22 runs to start the road trip in Philly, had scored only 3 runs in the first 2 games of this series, and here they are already with 3 today.
In the open today, we talked about these guys got to get back at it. This is the #1 slugging percentage team in the first 31 games since the All-Star break in the whole National League, but the bats were quiet the last couple days, that they were still on top. Got a chance to set a franchise record for slugging percentage in the second half. They keep it up.
Gonzalez smokes a fly ball to the left. Duvall is there, and the inning is over. But the Dodgers get 2 more RBI singles from Utley and Seager and a 3-0 lead, middle 3.
Cam replay, and it's replaying some great location from Mr. Urias. Fastballs away, fastballs in have been there, and then sit on the off-speed stuff. No, not with that kind of location. Slider down and away, hitting Yasmani's glove and putting up some zeros.
Yeah, getting support from the offense. Been a nice equation so far today with the solo homer from Chase Utley in the first, and then the RBI singles from Utley and Seager in the third. Julio's back out there to face 8-9-1. Facing just one more than the minimum. Couple of singles against him, but picked one of them off first. Tucker Barnhart leads off this inning. Strike one. Urias, the 20-year-old, just turned 20. Signed his pro contract 5 days after his 16th birthday. A couple of years before that, though, he was pitching in amateur games in Mexico. It's a 13 and 14-year-old with a catcher who happened to be his father. Is 1-1. Upstairs on Barnhart, 2-1. His dad stopped catching him, though, after he took a fastball square to the knee. Said, "That's it, son. Go find some pro catchers to catch that fastball." Softly hit the Seager. 1 out.
Catch with my dad started, of course, on grass, but then I remember taking chalk back on the sidewalks in Michigan and chalking out a home plate and striding out how many squares it would take to approximate distance, drawing a rubber on the sidewalk, waiting for Dad to get home from work. And he wouldn't even go in the house. He'd take the tie off in the driveway and roll up his sleeves and grab the other glove, and we'd be right out there on the side work. And I get 2 side works a night then, the one before dinner and the one after dinner if the light was still good in the summer.
Michigan summer times. Pretty nice.
Yeah, real nice.
1-0 to DeSclafani. The Reds pitcher is in there, and it's 1-1.
By the time we moved to New Jersey, I was high school age, and Dad was done catching me.
Did you hit him in the knee?
I didn't hit him in the knee, but I think he was a little scared of getting hit in the face.
Yeah.
A few start deflecting off the web. And we didn't have a catcher's glove. We were using 2 fielder's gloves. He never wanted to go to a catcher's glove. It's like, I'm done once you need to have a catcher's glove on.
Got out before Julio's dad did. His knee feels better because of it. Sounded like it was hit by a wiffle ball bat. Over to first, 2 gone.
Sounded a little hollow, didn't it? I think he one-handed it off the end. Take a listen. Oh, maybe not. I heard it. I don't. Did you?
Yeah. Are you talking live?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Did sound like balsa wood.
Yeah. Yeah, not as much like a wiffle bat as just a huge chunk of wood.
Yeah.
Billy Hamilton, second trip through, strike one. Hamilton struck out his first time. Sets the tone perhaps like no other leadoff hitter in the game right now, just because of what happens if he gets on. And not coincidentally, Urias the first guy to hold him off base to begin a game. And Urias the first guy to hold the Reds off of the board in the first inning. On 0-2, goes up with a fastball, and Hamilton leaves it.
Came into the inning with 38 pitches, only used 11 here so far. Can really square that pitch count up by getting him out quickly here.
Working with a nice tempo. On 2-2. Hamilton digs it out to stay alive.
Hamilton likes to hit the fastball from both sides of the plate. The breaking ball really gives him trouble. People around the Reds team are not sure he'll ever be able to hit a breaking ball, but with his speed, he gets a lot of fastballs because nobody likes to walk him.
And he gets him with that slider that he's throwing more today, it seems like, than we've seen from him early on in his time in the majors. Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Walter Alston and Sandy Koufax, who went to Cincinnati for college, spent a year there. He's from Brooklyn. And he said years later he's not even sure, doesn't even remember how he exactly chose Cincinnati as his school of choice. But he went there as a walk-on in the freshman basketball team, believe it or not. He wound up taking up baseball at the collegiate level a little bit later on. And his decision to go there and play basketball. The head coach of the freshman basketball team also happened to be the head coach of the varsity baseball team, and he gave him a tryout. Osmani Grandal takes a strike from DeSclafani, and it's 1-1. Sandy had found out about a trip to New Orleans for the baseball team early on in the spring, late in the winter, and had never been. And that helped encourage him to take the tryout and show the coach what he could do. So he makes the team. Strikes out 34 in his first 2 games and was only there for the 1 year because signed that pro contract with Brooklyn 1 year later.
Like Chase Utley, Sandy Koufax has done so much more around the game in passing on his knowledge, pitching mechanics, how to get hitters out, reading hitters' swings. Taught me so much. Very thankful that the O'Malleys, when they owned the Dodgers, kept Sandy around and kept him in uniform. I met him first when I was in Arizona Instructional League as a youngster in 1979, the year I got drafted, and Sandy was sitting on the bench in Arizona Instructional League, just watching the game in uniform and sitting next to all the young pitchers and hitters and just telling stories and analyzing the game right before our very eyes. And little did we know the wealth of knowledge that we would pick up being around him. For me, from 79 all the way up to 2000, still friends with Sandy to this day.
Josh Reddick looks at a fastball strike, 1-1. You know, even though he had the high strikeout totals in those first couple of games at Cincinnati and obviously throughout his career, control was an issue over the first half of Koufax's career in the majors. Fly ball to center, caught by Hamilton. But after his first 6 years, it was down in spring training. He finally discovered that his fastball was a lot better if he throttled back on it some. In his words, he took the grunt out of it. He was at spring training in 1961. He was scheduled to throw in a B game, so all the top guys were at the A game. But the pitcher that was scheduled to pitch the other 4 innings that night, missed his flight. He vowed to his teammates, look, I'll try to go 7 innings. And because Walter Alston and the rest of the decision makers were at the A game, he said, heck, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to back off on the fastball in this game, try to save my arm and go deeper. Didn't try to throw as hard as possible. Threw 7 no-hit innings. And he was a changed man. Jock Peterson waiting on an 0-1. Ball 1.
And remember, Sandy didn't have any minor league time, because in those days, if you signed for a certain amount of money, you automatically had to be in the big leagues. So he didn't have the minor league experience to fail and to experiment and to work on his mechanics. He came right to the big leagues.
Peterson bounces it off of the glove of DeJesus into right. And a 2-out single for Jock. His first hit of this series. Yeah, early on in his career, he was so wild that during spring training, the pitching coaches would have him throw off a mound behind the clubhouse so he wouldn't have to expose himself, embarrass himself to the fans that were there to watch him struggle with the control so badly those first few years.
Spring trainings in Vero Beach with the Dodgers, they had the string area, so they had the very small twine that outlined the strike zone, and the strings were used to get young pitchers into the strike zone so they get that visual feedback, not just the catcher's glove, but the actual feedback that the ball went through the strike zone.
Andrew Toll singled his first time, takes a strike.
Pitchers wouldn't even say, do I have a bullpen today? They would say, am I in the strings today?
Huh. Sandy got to the point where he was so good, so confident, that legend has it that he taped a post-game interview with Vin Scully before the game.
Oh, God. Oh, we got to ask Vin that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to text Sandy and ask him that one.
Peterson at first with 2 away, and Tolles dribbles it in front of the plate, but foul.
That doesn't sound like Sandy. He's not that.
That's why I said legend has it.
I'm going to use this word tongue in cheek, but he is not that arrogant. He's not arrogant at all. So, I am texting right now.
Ball 1. Good stop by Barnhart to keep Peterson anchored to first. The Dodgers in front 3-0 here in the 4th. Home run from Chase Utley in the first. RBI singles from Utley and Seager in the 3rd. Pulled to second. Nice backhand spear by Phillips, and per usual, nonchalantly flips it over to second to retire the side of the 4th.
Cincinnati, a beautiful afternoon here, and Julio Urias doing exactly what Dave Roberts asked him to do this morning. As we take a look at our upcoming pitching matchups in our T-Mobile greater coverage of baseball, it'll be Scott Kazmir going tomorrow to finish out the series in Cincinnati, and then Bumgarner and Kenta Maeda on his normal extra day's rest. And then Wednesday, we finally get to see Rich Hill pitch for the Dodgers, making his debut after rehabbing that blister on his finger, and he threw that sim game on Thursday, 75 pitches. Is feeling good.
Good. That's good news. Can't wait to see Rich Hill in a Dodger uniform. And again, Wednesday night, game 2 against the Giants. Urias to Peraza, strike 1.
Those blisters are so frustrating, but so debilitating. Dealt with them a few times in my career, never the length that Rich has dealt with this one. Is really compounded as he tried to come back, even when he was with Oakland. And just got bigger and bigger and worse and worse.
Brett Anderson last night left the game with a blister issue after 3 innings. Peraza golfing one to Tolles, went back at first and recovers for out number 1. We've talked about Rich Hill's story before, but he's overcome plenty more than blisters over the course of his career to get to where he is now. Shoulder surgery a few seasons into his career while he was with the Cubs. Finished his time there. A year later, latched down with the Cardinals in spring training, but then opted out of his deal, signed with Boston. Soon later, had to have Tommy John surgery after a great start to his tenure with the Red Sox. In 2010, 2011, Brandon Phillips taking a strike. In fact, between the end of 2010 and the start of 2011 with Boston, he had 15 consecutive scoreless appearances to open his time in a Boston uniform. Before that, Tommy John shut him down for the next year and a half. Came back the next year, second half of the season out of the Boston bullpen. Then in 2013 went to Cleveland and struggled mightily. Had an ERA above 6 and a full season out of their pen. Brandon Phillips pops it up down the right field line. Reddick comes on, and an easy play. 2 gone. Watch your favorite Hollywood celebrities show off their softball skills in the annual Hollywood Stars game at Dodgers Stadium, presented by New Balance. August 27th after the Dodgers and Cubs play. Go to Dodgers.com/HollywoodStars to learn more. So after that rough year for Rich Hill with Cleveland in 2013, signed a minor league deal with the Yankees, worked out of their bullpen. That was it for the Yankees and Rich Hill. Signed a minor league deal the next year as well. Strike 1 on Adam Duvall. That was with Washington. But they released him at the end of June last year. Went home and worked with his old American Legion team. There were several offers for him to sign another minor league deal somewhere as a reliever. But he wanted another chance at starting. And so the best route that he could figure out for that was to go pitch an independent ball. Went to the Long Island Ducks. And about a week ago is the 1-year anniversary of when Boston signed him for the second time. Put him in the minors, allowed him to start. Granted him an opportunity towards the end of the season on the big league club when Stephen Wright, the knuckleballer for Boston, in a freak accident was hit in the head during batting practice and went on the DL with a concussion. So that opened the door for Hill, who was splendid in 6 outings, and then signed the deal with Oakland prior to this season before getting traded to the Dodgers at the deadline.
When we acquired Rich, we thought it was really going to thicken the rotation. Didn't expect him to stay on the DL this long with the blister. We thought Brandon McCarthy was going to stay healthy. He's on the DL with the hip. We had Brett Anderson coming back, and then he gets hurt in the very first inning. He comes back and still trying to find his legs.
Duvall muscles a fly ball to Tolles, and that's a 1-2-3 4th inning for Julio Urias. 4 shutout frames for him and a 3-0 lead. California Toyota dealers. Toyota's annual clearance event is here. Save big on the entire 2016 Prius family. Hurry in today. Old Riverfront Stadium here in Cincinnati. One of the cookie cutter stadiums that used to host cities baseball and football teams. The difference in that one, though, is the left field box seats down the line were on tracks, so they could slide them forward or back. So the configuration of the football field would allow for fans to be closer than normal in those cookie cutter stadiums. Urias grounds out to start the fifth.
I was looking for Shotzi, Art Schott's dog. Big, huge dog. Used to leave dog hair and other things on the field.
Most do. Anthony DeSclafani in his third season with Major League time. Started with the Marlins. Now in his second season with the Reds. Trying to retire Utley for the first time. Utley took him deep to start the game and then singled home a run and scored in the third inning. DeSclafani was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays initially. Played his college ball at Florida. Good program down there. And then was sent to Miami in a 12-player deal, along with Adeiny Echeverria, who now starts at short for the Marlins. He pops it back. Barnhart can't find it, and it's in the seats. And we're close to where Barnhart was tracking. Totally lost that one in the bright sky. So DeSclafani, part of that huge deal where Miami basically unloaded after spending all that money to try and contend. Didn't. So reverse track, traded Mark Burley, traded Josh Johnson, Jose Reyes, dealt them all the way to Toronto. That got him to Miami. Then he came here to Cincinnati in exchange for Matt Latos before last season.
It was a 12-player deal.
12 players.
When he was in Miami, he was the enforcer after the Giancarlo Stanton beaning. And the next inning, he hit Carlos Gomez and got suspended for 3 games for the retaliation. Tough situation for a young man to be the one taking the mound after the big star player gets hit in the cheek, loses some teeth, ends up now wearing the face guard.
Comes a 2-2 to Chase Utley, and he got him. Now the guy that hit Giancarlo Stanton was Mike Fiers, who was then with Milwaukee. It was on this day last year that Mike Fiers, while with Houston, no-hit the Dodgers at Minute Maid Park. Fourth K for DeSclafani. He's not walked anybody, but the Dodgers have plated the 3 runs off 5 hits. Includes one from Corey Seager to extend his hitting streak to 12. One and one. A bit low. Seager's ahead 2-1. One of the 7 left-handed bats DeSclafani faces today. Left-handers have had their way with him, relatively speaking, to what righties have done against DeSclafani. With Chase Utley's home run, 9 of the 10 homers that DeSclafani's allowed this year have come from left-handed hitters. So the numbers entering the game. Seager shoots one down the left field side, another base hit. His second of the day.
He hits it everywhere. His bat is in the strike zone so long. And he's not late here. He's just in the strike zone so long that the line drive's going to end up going to right, center, or left. And his barrel doesn't drop. Guy gets to that point in the swing, a lot of times the barrel's dropping, or he's not back spinning that ball, he's side spinning it to left. He's just unbelievable hitter right now.
5 for 7 in this series. Justin Turner taking ball 1.
And Corey was hitting .315 coming into that at bat. His average has gone up like 40 points through this last couple months.
Turner shoots it on the ground to first, picked up by DeJesus, and he steps on the bag to finish the top of the 5th. Halfway home in game 3 of this series. Dodgers in front of the Reds 3-0. For the Dodgers onto the bottom of the 5th inning, and we look at our Coors Light cold hard facts. Dodgers trying to snap the Reds' season-long 5-game winning streak, and out of the blue, this is the #2 team in baseball in the second half of the season.
Everybody around the ballpark says this is the best the Reds have played, not only by their record, but what they're doing, how they're executing. Fortunate enough for the Dodgers today, Joey Votto getting a day off, day game after a night game. That helps the Dodgers a little bit. But the guy on the mound has really set the tone. And a child shall lead them. The 20-year-old out there, the first start he's made in the big leagues as a 20-year-old, had an outing in relief, but Julio has been fantastic.
Eugenio Suarez calls it just past the glove of Seager for a leadoff single. First base runner since the back-to-back singles in the first inning.
Slow curveball. Hadn't thrown many of these today. Really been using the tight slider, and that actually was a really good one. You got to tip your hat to Suarez on that piece of hitting right there to stay with the off-speed pitch and be able to elevate it. It was down below the knees.
And a good series for Suarez, who's aboard against Urias, leading off this 5th. And now Ivan DeJesus Jr. Struck out his first time. That's 1 of 4 for Julio. Strike 1. Ball and 1 strike. Urias, who made his major league debut back in late May at Citi Field. First teenager to debut as a starting pitcher since Felix Hernandez 11 years ago. Only the second teenage starting pitcher this century. Already picked one man off today. Tied for the major league lead in about a half season worth of data in pickoffs with 5 this year. Whole family flew up to New York from Mexico to watch that debut game. His dad Carlos, his mom Juana, brother Carlos, sister Alexia. They stopped at their church to give up a prayer of thanks after Julio's call up. Boarded a plane to get him to New York. Arrived at 5:30 in the morning, Friday morning of his start. Went to see Julio at the team hotel and spent the morning with him before going to the ballpark to watch a debut that was, like he said, one of the most special days of his life, a day that he'll never forget, where he did strike out 7, but it remains one of his 2 worst outings, along with his second outing, which was against the Cubs, and it's all been uphill as far as the trend since then.
Really impressed with the young man's ability to learn, not being overwhelmed, to take those difficult outings and to grow from them. He's been nothing but a pleasure to have in a big league uniform here with the Dodgers.
Suarez at first to start this 5th inning. And a 2-1 from Urias to De Jesus is low.
Julio's had to deal with all that hype, you know, the natural comparison to Fernando Valenzuela, and he'd be coming up here and rescuing the rotation, but none of that stuff really panned out, and he's still just right now on the normal growth curve of maturing to be a very good big league starting pitcher.
3-2.
You really can't project a ceiling for him because of the way he is growing and learning, and he's already changed his arsenal. He's tightened up the breaking ball. He's got the slider now, which he's throwing a lot more than his slow curveball. The changeup was outstanding, really better than advertised when he arrived, and the fastball command continues to get better. I think he's going to gain a little life and movement on his fastball too. He's going to get a little bit more comfortable with pitching with it down, because he could just blow minor league hitters and amateur hitters away with his fastball up. So he's not used to pitching down and being forced to be down there and then go up the ladder. I think as the fastball comes down a little bit, you're going to see more movement and life on it.
Jam shot to second. There's 1. There's 2. 4-6-3 double play, and 2 gone here in the 5th inning.
When you pitch down with your fastball and get 2 outs with 1 pitch because of the ground ball, it's going to cut down on the pitch count. It's going to get him deeper into the games, and you're going to find out all those different little idiosyncrasies of how to continue to refine his craft. He is not going to be a crafty left-hander. He's going to be a powerful strikeout pitcher.
Because you got to figure there's still growing to be do. Physical growing. There's a guy who just turned 20. Tyler Holt climbs in and fouls off the first pitch.
The lower half has gotten stronger ever since he's been here in the big leagues this year. His legs weren't as strong as when we first saw him in New York in that first out. The upper body starting to fill in, his chest starting to fill in. Yeah, you're right. He's got the man strength still to kick in the next 2 to 3 years.
Holt bunts it, and he's behind him 0-2. And those 7 strikeouts in that debut game in New York. He was the first teenager to do so for the Dodgers since they moved to Los Angeles. He had to go back to Don Drysdale's debut as a 19-year-old in Brooklyn, 1956. On 0-2, he misses outside. A ball and 2 strikes. 75th pitch of the game is a 1-2. Even the count. Three singles for the Reds. That's all today. Grandal setting inside. And a hold popping and foul. Do the 2-2 again. Turner can't get there, and it's a fair ball. Tolles races over to get it and does a great job to hold him to a single.
Two out. You know Tyler Holt is thinking, I got to get to second base, get into scoring position, take the risk. But Justin Turner misses it, but Tolles out there in left field gets this ball so quickly, and he's got a right fielder's arm. You're not going to test that. But what shut down the attempt to get to second was his hustle to get to that ball as soon as possible.
You don't expect to see the ball come out of his hand the way it does. Kind of a littler guy.
Yeah.
He can really let it fly.
He's got a strong arm.
So the inning kept alive for the 8-hitter Tucker Barnhart.
I like that 2-out man on first. They might go first move. Just go over there and say, no, I'm watching you.
Hard hit off of the glove of Turner, catches it off the fly, and it's dug out by Gonzalez. Stick with it, JT, and trust that Gonzo's got it on the back end.
The hot corner became a hot potato, but it did stay right over the red dream, and Agon with the gold. Resort and Spa slow-mo cam. Justin Turner knocking that ball down. The 78th pitch for Mr. Urias. And that will save your pitch count when your infielders can make a play like that. And on the receiving end, Mr. Gonzalez did another outstanding job rescuing a slightly errant throw.
And he's here to lead off the 6th inning. With the Dodgers in front of the Reds 3-0, trying to even the top of the West Division standings heading into San Francisco's game against the Mets tonight. Noah Syndergaard goes for New York, although he's not been himself in recent starts. So about 11 runs in his last 16 innings. Opposite field base hit for Gonzalez to extend his hitting streak to 14 games. They got the 3 coming up with the Giants, and then it's the 3 with the Cubs. And be sure to come to Dodger Stadium to watch what could be a playoff preview. Dodgers.com/tickets for more information. Friday through Sunday this coming week. After the leadoff single, here's Grandal. He's 0 for 2 today. Hit streak for Gonzalez, his longest of the season. He's hitting above 400 during that stretch, and has been one of the top hitters in the National League when you look at average and on base percentage over the last 2 months, really since those back-to-back off days where he told Dave Roberts, look, my swing is not comfortable right now. Dave Roberts trusting the veteran voice, giving him back-to-back days off, a Sunday and a Monday in Pittsburgh, putting him back in the lineup on Tuesday in Milwaukee, and he's not stopped hitting since.
His days off coincided with Clayton Kershaw going down, and 45 games ago, hitting .354 over that period, picking up the ball club in the offense since Clayton's been down. Justin Turner's been quoted as saying, you know, we're all going to have to play a little bit better each when Clayton went down, and try and hold down the fort, catch the Giants, keep it close until we get Clayton back, and they have done just that. At one time they gained 8 games on the Giants when they got it from 6.5 down to a game and a half up. The race is a little tighter than that right now, and it's going to come down to the wire. A lot of exciting baseball left this year.
If I was a betting man, I bet that those final 3 in San Francisco would mean something.
I think you're right. The 6 at home against them are really going to mean something, but it's probably going to be so tight that it's going to come down to those last 3 in Frisco. If you're a Dodger fan, you think that's going to happen, you might want to look into travel and tickets because you'll want to be there.
Grandal lifts one to the opposite field. Back on it goes Duvall. He's at the wall, leaping and can't get it. Gonzalez heads to third on a double from Yasmani Grandal, and the Dodgers threatening again here in the 6th.
Yasmani Grandal got moved up in the order, has this ball come off the bat pretty well, but the last 2 ballparks we've played in, the ball carries real well. Philadelphia, that might have been a home run. Here it's off the wall. That sets the table real nice for the Dodgers here in the 6th.
And so second and third for the Dodgers, and Josh Reddick to the plate. Reddick pops it up into short center with the infield playing in. There's nobody home, but Hamilton comes in and makes a diving play.
Hamilton makes an amazing play right here. Infield in, pinched in, as you said, Joe, so their range is way cut down. This should be in the Bermuda Triangle where it's just going to fall in. But with his closing speed, use it on the base paths, use it on defense. Some kind of range right there.
First time in 3 at-bats with runners in scoring position today. A Dodger's been retired, and it took a fabulous play by Billy Hamilton. That is after a 1 for 17 over the first 2 games for the Dodgers with runners in scoring position. It's a ball on Jock Peterson.
3-0 lead, second and third, now 1 out. And the way the Reds have swung the bat this series and lately, it feels like the Dodgers need to get 1 or 2 this inning.
On Thursday night in Philly, the Dodgers had a lead, and you said that game started to smell bad. Does this one start to have a little stench to it if they don't add on here?
Well, the good thing is that we're getting a nice piece of starting pitching from Julio, so we're deeper. There's going to be a lot of times now that Dave Roberts and Rick Honeycutt can match up against the Reds, and it's going to make the bullpen more efficient and more effective. This one still smells really good.
Peterson lifting a fly ball to right, sending Holt back at the track with room. But it gets the job done. In comes Gonzalez. RBI sac fly from Jock Peterson, and the Dodgers lead 4-0.
Josh Reddick was attempting to do that, maybe make a couple outs on the right side. Would have get us 2 runs, but didn't get the barrel on it. Just popped it up the center, but Jock Peterson got the job done. Squeaked across that one.
And they'll put tolls on intentionally, bring Urias up.
Pretty easy call here. Dave Roberts not going to pinch hit. Would like to get 1, maybe 2 out of Julio. Pitch count at 78. He's thrown, squeaked over 100 once. He has a very efficient 6th. Get a decision about the 7th.
He's never pitched into the 7th inning. His major league career. Longest outing 6 full. Talked about earlier, that was in Milwaukee in late June. It's the only time that he's thrown 100 pitches in a game, and he's at 78 through 5. Smacked to third, picked by Suarez. And nearly got himself an RBI. Suarez makes a nice play, brings his 6th inning to a close, but the Dodgers get 1 more on a sac fly from Peterson. By Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. No doubt there'll be plenty of items that go to the Baseball Hall of Fame from Vince Scully's career. How about this headset right here? I wonder if that one there is much different than the models they have now. He has seen just about every iteration of headset and microphone that teams have used throughout the years. In his 67 years as the voice of Dodger baseball. Urias back out there for the 6th, trying to go 6 full for only the 2nd time, and he has been sharp today, helping Dodger pitching get back on track. They gave up 20 runs over the first 2 games of this series. That was the most in back-to-back games this year.
Julio has framed his outing, gave up 2 hits in the 1st and 2 hits in the 5th and no hits in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So he's had 3 up, 3 down innings.
9-1-2 for the Reds, and Anthony DeSclafani fouls back the first pitch. Strike one. DeSclafani's 0 for 1. 2 nights ago in the series opener, Reds pitchers drove in 5. That was the most by pitchers in a big league game this year. 0-2. And he got him. Quick order. 3 pitches helping his cause to go even deeper.
I've really noticed an adjustment that Julio's made in his mechanics from his windup. His leg kick is now matching the leg kick that he uses from the stretch, which has a little bit more pace to it. It's a little bit more compact and higher. And I think the rhythm of that leg kick is now getting him more out front and more whip to his fastball. His pitches have a lot more finish today, and he's able to locate them a lot better. His leg kick for me from the windup used to be very smooth, but a little lazy. And now it's got some crispness. It's very crisp, and it's compact, and it's keeping him on line a lot better. His motion is not quite so rotational.
Billy Hamilton. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That leg kick coming up and staying tight to his chest, instead of having that foot kind of wander around and lazily come around his body, which then makes his shoulders go round. Now his upper body is really exploding. The arm is coming through faster, and he's right on line. Very tight, very crisp.
85th pitch of the day. It'll be a 2-1 to Billy Hamilton. And Hamilton pulls a base hit to left. 5 hits for the Reds. They're all singles. Hamilton on with 1 gone. Well, this outing of 5 1/3 for Urias matches his 2nd longest outing. This is only the 3rd time that he's pitched into the 6th inning period. And the 6 full innings against Milwaukee, June 28th. Went 5 1/3 in San Francisco on a Sunday night, June 12th. Ball 1 to Jose Peraza. Major league leader in steals.
Major league leader in pickoffs on the mound.
Yeah. The first guy since Jose Urias close to a decade ago to have at least 53 steals in 3 consecutive seasons. Told you a couple of times about his minor league history as a base stealer. It was on this date 4 years ago that he set a new minor league record, breaking Vince Coleman's record for steals in a season. 146 broke Coleman's record, and Hamilton would finish with 155 that year. The Pensacola Blue Wahoos. One and two.
Billy Hamilton has a better success rate against left-handed pitchers than right-handed pitchers, about 87% successful against lefties and only about 80% successful against righties.
How is that possible?
Well, you go on first move, putting a lot of pressure on your first baseman, his wheels.
Peraza watches it go by. Another strikeout for Urias. 2 gone in the 6th. 6 Ks total today.
Keeping the ball down, hitting the corner. thrown some really good sliders to right-handers down and in and under the swing and on the back door side. And right there, I think he freezes Peraza because he was looking for that slider and got fastball.
So Brandon Phillips with 2 gone. Hamilton still at first. Phillips 1 for 2 today, continuing his hot second half. Outside, ball 1. This pitch number 90 for Julio. Already a career high in innings pitch for him. He gets his next out. He'll have completed 102 innings between the minors and the majors this year. About 15 more than his previous career high. Off the end of the bat, shallow center, sinks in, base hit. Hamilton a bloop single. The Reds at the corners in the 6th.
4 of the Reds hits today. 2 jam shots. One was by Phillips on a fastball, and this breaking ball's got him way out in front, but he hits it off the end of the bat. That was the other 2 hits we've seen. And really, Julio, even when he's given up the hits, the balls have not been hit hard.
So nearing decision time for Dave Roberts. Again, Urias has only thrown 100 pitches 1 time, and it was 100 right on the dot in that 6th inning outing against Milwaukee. So they continue to monitor his innings and his pitch totals throughout the year. Adam Duvall climbs in, and there is strike 1. And I've also said that his role and the innings limit has been a dynamic thing for Hanseidi, saying that recently, because not every inning is created equal. For example, this has become a much higher stress inning than you look back at the 4th, 1, 2, 3 with a few pop-ups. So they grade the effect of that on an arm differently. 1-1. So it'd be hard going into the season to say 100 innings and he's done, or 120 innings and is done. Put a number in there. It's hard to do that, just because every inning's different, and because of the needs on this roster. That's evolved his role as well. His 1-1 delivery to Adam Duvall was up, and it's fouled back. 1-2.
Still trying to figure out how to protect the valuable asset known as a big league arm. It's a very hard equation, but the risk reward right now tells you that there's way more risk when you jump the workload.
That's all you can go by right now, right? Is
right
what
now.
You know. Nothing's been proven yet.
But we've seen the guys that have been pampered and they still get hurt.
Yeah. The Dodgers at the head of the race as far as the research and studying of the arm and how to protect it. Trying to finish off 6 shutout innings.
Big power at the plate. Don't get too conscious about the running game right here. Need 1 more out. You don't want to make a mistake to this guy because you're paying attention to that runner at first.
Is 1-2 upstairs. 2-2.
Just a cursory look, and then really zone in on the type of pitch you want to make and execute it.
You got to figure that one way or another, Duvall will be the final batter that Urias faces. Hamilton at third, Phillips at first. And a 2-2 to Adam Duvall will come after a toss over to first, checking on Phillips.
Here come the veterans, and they're going to tell him, let's get the guy at the plate. A little bit too much attention being paid over there to Phillips. Even if he steals second, you get the guy at the plate out, you're in the dugout, and you also would have first base open, and you've got a bullpen piece behind you. So even Phillips knows that's probably the conversation going on. He might decide to run on this pitch, but don't worry about it. Just let's get the hitter.
Dave Roberts and the video team thinks they might have gotten him picked off. They'll challenge.
Maybe he was in the air. They got him on the shoulder.
Fielded Colbreth, crew chief here. Over there with home plate umpire Jim Reynolds.
Ooh, maybe another angle. Gets him on the backside. Maybe as the fingers are still just in the dirt, but not on the bag.
So the replay center back in New York continues to filter through all the replay looks they have. And they quickly determine that he is safe. So Urias has to refocus his attention at the plate with a guy that has more home runs than all but 2 players in the National League. 28 this season for Adam Duvall. And a situation where with one swing could bring the Reds to within 1 run. With 1 strike, Urias would equal a career-long outing. His 2-2. Duvall pops it up. Utley staring into that bright sunshine. He's under it. He's got it. And Julio Urias with his best outing as a big leaguer. 6 shutout innings against the Cincinnati Reds.
Take you back to spring training and you look at what you had and all the guesses you had of how the season was going to go. Did anything pan out the way you thought? And he said, well, Howie Kendrick is probably the only thing that panned out the way I thought it was. And then someone said, well, but he's playing left field for you. What about that? And he said, you're right. Absolutely nothing has worked out how I thought it would. But he went on to say, with everything that we've endured, the way we are and where we are right now, I'm really impressed.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. The team's been able to overcome the 27 players on the disabled list. Overcome an 8-game deficit in the division. Chase Utley leading off this inning against DeSclafani. 1 ball, 1 strike.
The big guy over there on the Dodger bench hanging over the railing. If you'd told us in spring training you're going to lose him from June 27th to now, where would the Dodgers be? I don't think people would say a half game out of first. It's the foundational piece of all of baseball, not just the Dodgers. It's so good to see him. Looking forward to his second side work. Going to go 40 or 45 pitches. Starting to build it back up. Here we are, August 21st. He goes from that side work to maybe some kind of simulated game, and then maybe stretches that out, and then maybe one more. Maybe you see him in 20 days or so. Who knows? It's not like you need to stretch him out to be to 7 innings.
No.
We'll take him for 5 if we can get him for 5 and let him build it up from there. Just no timetable at all right now, but a lot of positive movement in the right direction.
Utley swings and misses at a back foot breaking ball for strike 3. 1 gone in the 7th. You can celebrate rookie all-star shortstop Corey Seager Thursday, August 25th, when the Dodgers host the Giants. It's Corey Seager bobblehead night. First 40,000 fans in attendance get one from your Southern California BMW centers. Go to Dodgers.com/promotions. And Dave Roberts said not much has gone how he expected it would. When you think of Corey Seager and what the expectations were, they were really high. And he somehow, I think, probably managed to exceed them.
I think you're right. I think we thought we've got a pretty special player here, and we'll watch him develop before our very eyes. It's got a lot of pressure on him being the starting shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But we got a good indication that he was going to be able to handle that by the way he handled September of last year and then the playoffs. And he's done nothing but get better every month he's played up here.
Fastball tailed back over the plate to get him. Back-to-back strikeouts for DeSclafani, and now 6 total today. Another pretty good crowd in Cincinnati. There have been complaints about how small the crowds had been this week. School just started in this area, so pretty much just had season ticket holders in the house when the Marlins were in town for a 4-game series before the Dodgers came in. But we've had 3 good crowds this weekend. As Turner takes ball 1. And DeSclafani quickly back with a 1-0 that rides over the inside part. Strike 1. Dodgers with 4 runs on 8 hits over those 100 pitches. Chase Utley started the game with a home run, and they got RBI singles from Utley and Seager in the 3rd. Jock Peterson brought home the 4th run with a sacrifice fly last inning. On 2-2. Turner runs it full. Facing the team that drafted him out of Cal State Fullerton. Waiting on a payoff. Bounces one to the hole. Picked off by Suarez. Spins and throws him out to finish a 1-2-3 7th inning for DeSclafani. Stretch time in Cincinnati. Dodgers in front 4-0. back in Cincinnati and back inside where the Dodgers have a 4-0 lead over the Reds. Joe and Oral, the numbers would say that that was Julio Urias' best start as a major leaguer as Joe Blanton gets ready to come into the game. What's the eye test say for you?
Tells me that things are progressing. The sharpness of the breaking ball, especially the slider, was there. He was able to change speeds with the curveball and the changeup, and the fastball location continues to get better. Only upside for him. On
a day where the Dodgers needed it with the 2 short outings to open this series.
Yeah, and it's going to be great to have a little bit of offense here, his good start, and now the bullpen coming in. This Dodger team leads Major League Baseball in strikeouts. They've had over a strikeout an inning this year, and I'll tell you what, Joe Blanton has been part of that. His 62 innings pitched, 59 strikeouts. He is right there close as far as a strikeout an inning.
Blanton threw that 1 inning last night, right after the rain delay. Hour 20 rain delay, which seems so long ago when you consider how perfect it is out right now. Where would you rather be on a Sunday afternoon? It'd be hard to find in this area of the country a day like this. At this stage of the year, it's usually so humid. I know Kelly Tennant's down in the field listening to us saying it's not that nice, guys, up there in your AC booth. Eugenio Suarez takes a strike.
My phone says it's 79 degrees here right now.
Pretty darn nice.
It's beautiful. Kind of a cool breeze.
Guys, where's the cool breeze? Is it up in the booth? Because I don't necessarily feel it in the dugout.
Maybe that's our air conditioner.
It's very unfair of you to brag up there.
When we talk about our booth being air conditioned, we should note that it is open air. There's a fly ball to right. Reddick racing back, still going. It's over his head and off of the bottom of the wall. Suarez has quietly had a big series for Cincinnati. He's 7 of 11, and he leads off this 7th inning with a 2-bagger.
It's a good piece of hitting, and right now Joe Blanton is going to go to getting outs. You don't worry about that leadoff double with a 4-run lead. You don't worry about the runner moving up 90 feet and being on third with less than 2 outs. 4-run lead. The pitching philosophy now to win is just to get outs and disregard that runner.
Ivan De Jesus Jr. I get our first chance in a long time, first chance on this road trip to see Kenley Jansen. This game holds around where it is right now.
6 relievers used yesterday, including Kenley, but Kenley never threw a pitch in the game. Was announced prior to the rain delay, and because of the delay, the Dodgers did not have to have him face a batter. And so they moved to Joe Blanton after the delay, so Kenley Jansen will show that he entered the game on your score sheet, but he never threw a pitch. And he hasn't pitched since August 13th.
Another than 2 on De Jesus. And that the fact that he was announced last night counts as an appearance in his overall statistic line. So appearance number 53 without ever actually stepping onto the field. Rain came as soon as Dave Roberts inserted him technically to the home plate umpire's lineup card. 1-2.
So we look on our Dodger notepad and we see last outing yesterday. And I said the last time he actually pitched in a game is August 13th.
That was the last game Julio Urias pitched in. Relief of Brandon McCarthy against the Pirates 2 Saturdays ago at Dodger Stadium. Blanton delivers and a little bouncer back to him. He checks the runner back to the bag and gets Ivan De Jesus Jr. for the first out.
Joe doing a square dance out there on the mound, checking the runner back, and then didn't bring the feet around before he tossed it over to Adrian Gonzalez. Good job freezing the runner. We'll come back chopper, and the velocity of the ball coming back at you. That runner on second might make a mistake. You saw him line up for second and toss to first.
Scott Schebler pinch hits here for Tyler Holt. So Brian Price trying to catch some thunder here. Schebler a much more powerful bat than Holt. Those 4 home runs in limited major league time. 0-1. Schebler had a home run last night. Late in that game with the game already in hand. So that was his 4th major league home run, or his 4th this season for Cincinnati. His 3rd was on the first day of his most recent call-up, and it was a walk-off home run against the St. Louis Cardinals the day after the Reds had shipped Jay Bruce to New York. That's the role Schebler's taken over. 1-2 as Blanton cuts that slider to the back foot. Two gone.
Seems like Joe Blanton either has a clean inning, or if he has a jam, he can make pitches like this. You feel very comfortable with him on the mound. And I'll tell you what, when the Dodger bullpen got off to a slow start in April, it was guys like Joe Blanton when they started to switch his role from a guy who could be a long man and give you some length and maybe get you a key out early to a guy that can pitch later in the game and you can rely on him. Started to change the whole makeup of the bullpen down there for the Dodgers.
Dave Roberts has said multiple times that the bullpen is the #1 reason for this team's success this year. Lately, the last month and a half, last 2 nights excluded, the offense has been particularly impressive. But you get rid of the first road trip of the season, of the series against San Francisco, and then some trickle over into the opening homestand. You get rid of that, and the bullpen has been the most consistent piece to it, and they've been asked to do a lot. Joey Votto at bat. Tucker Barnhart could reach. 2-1 on the outside corner. That one gets by Grandal, and up to third goes Suarez. And it's 3-1.
Yasmani will tell you that he should have had this one easily. This is not a cross up. He just clanked it. Good bite on the breaking ball, but every big league catcher that's ever strapped on the equipment will tell you you're supposed to have that ball.
Blanton to Barnhart with a 3-1, and it's in there. 3-2.
Big pitch right here. Big out. Keep Votto in the on deck circle. Don't let him come up with either the run in or 2 men on.
Votto's been the top hitter in baseball the last couple of months. He would try and keep it extended for the top of the order. Hit a 3-run home run in the first inning of the opener on Friday night. Another payoff outside, and Votto gets a chance here in the 7th.
Job one is to get him out. Job two is to keep him in the ballpark.
Rick Honeycutt out to discuss a strategy to do that with Blanton.
Rick in his 11th season, and these Dodgers have flourished under his tutelage. He's had a lot of guys to work with this year, and he and Dave Roberts have done a masterful job. Yesterday in the blowout, 5 relievers pitched, but nobody was overused. They're all available today. No reinforcements were needed in the bullpen. The player move was just to activate Andrew Tolles and send Chris Taylor down, so it was just a regular player move today.
So the 4-time All-Star, the former MVP, who finished 3rd in MVP voting last year on a 98-loss team, is making a late push to be involved in that race again this year. He takes outside ball one. While he has tremendous power, he's most known for his discerning eye at the plate and has led the majors in walks several times over his decade in the bigs. Waits on a 1-0, and Blanton has strike one.
One has nice movement, just catches the corner. I believe if they come in to him, it'll only be in off the plate.
He left that one over and got away with it. 1-2.
Scouting reports are so intricate now. It's not only where does a guy have the best batting average, but where is his highest slugging percentage in the strike zone. I would think Joey Votto's highest slugging percentage is near the middle and to the inner half. That's why I said I think that if they come in, they'll come in off the plate, almost a ball that he's going to have to pull foul like that one, or just a show pitch.
Suarez at third, Barnhart at first, Votto choking up and taking strike 3 over the outside corner. Joe Blanton strikes out Joey Votto and keeps zeros on the board. It's 4-0 Dodgers as we march on to the 8th.
Out here from Joe Blanton. The pitch sequence, tried a curveball to start him off, fastball away, dots the corner, inside slider that maybe was a little risky, but then the backdoor slider that they've gotten him earlier in this series with, well executed pitches right there from Joe Blanton in a big situation to one of the hottest hitters in the big leagues right now.
And so it remains a 4-0 game. Blanton putting up a 0 in the 7th after 6 shutout innings from Julio Urias. Scott Schebler had a pinch hit opportunity last inning, went down swinging. He stays in the game, plays defense in right, replacing Tyler Holt. And Anthony DeSclafani's day is finished as Tony Cingrani comes in. You see the 15 saves and 20 opportunities. Brian Price has not at any point declared him the closer, although the numbers would show you that he's the guy that they go to in the save situations. It is a much more fluid situation down in the bullpen than traditionally, at least over the last few years, with the way pens have been set up. There's strike one on Gonzalez.
The only lefty in their bullpen, and so it doesn't look like a save situation for the Reds. Try to climb back into this game. Get your lefty on the mound against Gonzalez, and then the third hitter is Reddick, and you flip Yasmani Grandal around to his right side where he's been hot from the left side. Brian Price just trying to put a 0 on the board, give his offense another chance.
Adrian has extended his hitting streak to 14 games with a single to start the 6th inning. He came at a score on a Jock Peterson sacrifice fly. Dodgers started the scoring on an Utley homer in the 1st. Utley and Seager both driving in runs with singles in the 3rd. Down the left field line, foul.
Adrian, this hitting streak, and as hot as he's been since June 27th, he's starting to bump up against 300, hitting 297 coming into the day. He's got a hit today. The average with all these at bats is still right at 297. It just goes up fractionally, but if he stays hot, he's going to get up around that number.
So the power numbers have not been what they've been for most of his career. The on-base percentage and the batting average are as good as they've been in his time with the Dodgers.
He's one of the smartest veteran hitters that you will see. He understands a multiple of swings that he has. He's got a short compact one. He's got one that when he went through the front shoulder injury and he couldn't hit for power, that he changed the size of his bat. He changed the swing path so that he could at least hit for average. Then when the shoulder healed, he went back to a longer and heavier bat and started to open the swing up for power. I think this year he's had a few nicks and cuts with the neck and some other things that he realized that maybe this is not going to be the big power year as far as the health, but I could play mostly every day and still be effective and put a good swing on the ball. He's used left field an awful lot, and when he does hit for power, it's mostly to the pull side now.
He started to not necessarily ignore, but not overthink the shifts that he sees, which is a ton of the time. Grandal taking ball 1, and he admitted that early on there was some overthinking of that. And just back to trying to hit the ball hard, as opposed to trying to beat the shift. Grandal with a pop up down the right field line. Phillips moves over and makes what turned into a pretty difficult looking catch. Flashes that famous smile.
He is an entertainer because of the body language and how much he enjoys to play, and he will wear his emotions on his sleeve and let the fans know how much fun it is just to do something routine. Four-time Gold Glover can really put on a show.
Fastball whistles up, ball 1 on Josh Reddick. 0 for 3 in his first game out of the 6th spot. 2 for 20 on this trip. Didn't miss by much, but Reddick's ahead 2-0. Had somebody tweet the other day, what's up with Reddick's helmet? Just a lot of pine tar on there. Pops it up around home plate. And Cingrani makes the catch almost with his palms up at the same time, saying, why didn't somebody else take it? I'm the pitcher. About to get interesting if they haven't already, which I guess they have with a half-game deficit in the division. But how about San Francisco and the Cubs coming to town at a 6-game homestand opening Tuesday?
Looking forward to that, but looking forward to the end of this one and tomorrow, salvaging a split here in Cincinnati, and then looking and focusing in on those Giants.
It's our 76 Dodgers calendar. Giants play later tonight against the Mets. Pedro Baez comes in here in the 8th, and you start to wonder how soon Dave Roberts may go to Kenley Jansen, who's not pitched in 8 days.
I think Kenley will be up either now or if somebody gets on in this inning, looking at the possible 4-out save. I do not think that Pedro is pitching without the Kenley Jansen parachute.
Dodgers trying to get their first shutout win since that 3-0 win against Boston back on August 6th. Top of the Reds order, so Baez will have to earn it here. And Billy Hamilton turns his shoulder on ball 1. 6 shutout frames from Julio Urias. And a scoreless inning from Joe Blanton, who struck out Joey Votto with runners at the corners. 1-1. Pedro Baez quietly has gone through some really good stretches this year. Started the season as one of the high leverage guys, 8th inning guy. Struggled, shifted into a lower pressure role in the middle innings. Quietly has started to move towards the later innings again and some more significant roles.
When his roles changed, it gave him a little bit more room for error to start to develop some of his secondary pitches. And so the off-speed stuff started to come along because he had a lot of breathing room. He wasn't dealing with 1- or 2-run leads. He was pitching maybe down 3, down 4, up 4. So it gave him a chance to develop, and it's really done him well.
It's 2-2 to Billy Hamilton. Is outside, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Baez trying to get back on track. We mentioned the good stretches that he's had at times this year. Did not give up a run in the month of July. Back-to-back scoreless outings to open August. But has allowed runs in 4 of his last 5 games now. His 3-2 to Hamilton. Strikes him out to open the 8th inning.
Big pitch for Pedro's confidence. 3-2, 4-run lead, knowing that Kenley Jansen is behind him in the pen warming up. He doesn't want to see Dave Roberts out there on the mound. He wants to do this job all by himself.
There is Dave Roberts and Bob Guerin, his bench coach. Jose Peraza settling in for this AB. He's 1 for 3 today. 4 for 8 this weekend. Little jam shot over the mound is short. Seager trying to barehand it and couldn't. And Peraza's aboard with 1 out. Not sure that he necessarily needed to. That was a decent speed, but the ball was hit sharply enough where it seemed like Seager might have been okay.
Sometimes when a right-handed hitter gets jammed, they don't get out of the box. And that ball was hit awfully well for a ball supposedly dribbling up. And you see when the ball arrives there, yep. Peraza's probably only halfway down the line, and I think Corey realized when he looked up after not barehanding it that he had more time than he thought.
They ruled a base hit for Peraza. That brings up Brandon Phillips. He's 2 for 3 today. He's 5 of 11 in this series. He's recaptured some of his earlier career form in this second half. He's gotten healthy from that nagging big toe injury, which slowed him down for much of the first half of the season. Nagging injuries, a big part of his story as a major leaguer. It's not kept him from being good, though. I mean, he's a 3-time All-Star. He's played a decade and a half. You wonder what could have been the last few years had he not dealt with the wrist and the thumb injuries. Could have slowed him down. Baez lets the 0-1 fly. It bounces. Teams wrap up this 4-game series tomorrow. 9:35 back home in Los Angeles. Scott Kazmir for the Dodgers and Homer Bailey, only his 5th start back from Tommy John, going for the Reds. Bang to short. Seager's got it. There's 1. And there's the inning. 6-4-3 double play. Second twin killing turn by the Dodgers today sends us to the 9th.
John Hartung, who's apparently doing this by himself. Don't know where Ned Colletti is. They'll be in studio. Plus, I'll have interviews and reactions in the clubhouse coming up after the game on Access Sportsnet. Dodgers brought to you by Nissan. You know, last time I said that John Hartung was getting makeup, I think it might be Ned, Joe.
Oh, or maybe Ned was the guy in the catcher's mask.
No, that was one of the guys that help on stage getting a little wise.
Speaking of wise, Ross Ollendorf, former Princeton guy in the game. You looked at me like, where are you going with this?
I did.
Yeah.
Old school mechanics with the way he goes into his windup and slides his foot back and forth and then rocks into it with the hand swinging over his head. Kind of fun to watch.
Bottom part of the Dodger order this inning. Jock Peterson, a productive day, 1 of 2 with a run knocked in and a sac fly. That drifts away. Peterson lays off, ball 1. And took a very curious glance down there to see if CB Buckner would call that a strike or not. There's Buckner, who Peterson was displeased with on strike 3 called to finish last night. 2-0.
Totally on Jock's side. The guy who's really worked hard on swinging at the right thing and cutting back on his strikeouts to get punched out for the 4th time yesterday on a not even a borderline pitch. I think it was a almost predetermined strike with the game out of balance after a rain delay. And let's get out of here. 2 out, nobody on.
Softly hit, and it stays foul, bouncing over the lip of the grass. So 2-1 on Peterson in a 4-0 game in the 9th inning. The Reds will have the middle part of the order due up. Foul ground, and over to give it a look, Suarez, but it's into the dugout. We're talking a little bit about Dave Roberts and his chances at National League Manager of the Year in his first season here. There's an article in the LA Times prior to the start of the season. Bill Shakin wrote it, that compared the circumstances around Dave's hiring to the circumstances around Walter Alston's hiring back in the 1950s. So Alston was hired for the 1954 season, and like Dave, had never managed in the majors. He managed for more than a decade in the minors, but newspaper headline in New York the day that his hiring was announced was, who? Big bold letters. Who is Walter Alston? Both guys inherited quite a bit of talent. The team that Walter Alston inherited, the Boys of Summer, 1953 team that won 105 games. So while both inherited teams with a lot of talent, both were trying to get those teams over the hump. Dodgers at that point had still never won a World Series. Peterson walks to lead off this 9th inning. They'd won back-to-back pennants. They'd won 4 pennants in the previous 7 years, but still had never won a World Series in franchise history. Alston helped them win their first World Series 2 years later, the 1955 season. They'd win 4 in his first 12 years as manager. Dave Roberts trying to lead the Dodgers to their first World Series title since 1988. The differences lie in the contract structures. Dave has a little more security than Alston had. 23 seasons as Dodger manager on 23 one-year deals. Ball 1 on Andrew Toles.
Dave has a 3-year deal, but I hope he has the Alston touch. Use a world championship or 2 or 4 in 12 years.
Oof, pretty close play to go in standing. We talk about Dave being a first-time big league manager. There have been 18 managers hired in the majors between the end of 2013 and the start of this year, 13 of the 18 are first-time big league managers.
Look at those socks that Jock has on now.
Love them. He takes off in those socks, and it is bounced right at Peraza, who is there to cover. It's a double play. Bad luck for Andrew Toles.
With Jock running, Peraza shifting himself to catch a ground ball or to cover second base, so he is headed right to this ball that goes between Ohlendorf's legs. Little toe on the bag and a relay to first. They get 2 outs.
So Rob Segedin bats with 2 gone in the 9th inning. And goes after the first pitch from Ohlendorf, fouls it off. It's a strike. 286 in limited action. 4 of those 9 runs batted in his debut in a Dodger uniform. Ready for Ohlendorf's rockin' 0-1. Nothing in 2. Shanked into foul territory, and E10.
Needs a new piece of lumber.
Needs a new glove over there in the first row, too. Can you hear that on the microphone? It's George Lombard over there giving the guy a hard time. He said to the guy, "You're going to be sleeping on the couch tonight after that performance."
Can razz the opposing fans when you're up 4-0 in the 9th.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to be enjoying that too much.
Do you eat with those hands?
2-2. Segedin's run it full after falling behind 0-2. Nice pinch hit appearance for Rob Segedin to keep the 9th inning going. With MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. That includes a free subscription to AppBat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Coming in handy this time of year, isn't it?
It's great. I mean, we'll definitely have it on at dinner watching the Giant game. Starts at 5 o'clock West Coast time, 8 o'clock Eastern. Hopefully by the end of dinner, Dodgers will be in first place by a half a game.
That would be nice. That'd be a nice nightcap.
There's a few people in our crew that partake in nightcaps.
Not naming any names. Although I do see a mirror over there.
It's not me. You have to get to bed because of the baby.
Right.
Charlotte looks beautiful, though.
Thank you, pal.
2 months old now.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, we keep talking about the Dodgers turnaround corresponding with Clayton Kershaw going out. I think that Charlotte needs a little more credit. They've been pretty darn good since she was born.
Charlotte Grace is the good luck charm for the Dodgers. Got them on track. Even without Clayton.
Chase Utley started this game with exactly what the Dodgers needed, and that was a spark. Solo home run. Later knocked it around with a single. Came in to score on Seager's single. He was in scoring position because of an aggressive base running play on his single, where the throw went towards home. Utley saw it, never stopped, got into second, and only scored on Seager's single because of an incredible read off of the bat and the homework before the pitch, checking where the left fielder was. And a breaking ball is golfed down the right field line. Over goes Schebler, and it's up in the seats. Perfect example of having to look deeper than just the numbers to see the things he does. That trip on the bases, trip around the bases in the third. Second in at first after the 2-out walk. Ollendorf's 1-2 is low to Utley. Foul tipped into the mid of Barnhart to finish the inning. Been a long time since the Dodgers have watched their all-star closer Kenley Jansen take the mound. He'll take it here for the first time in 8 days, trying to lock down a 4-0 Dodger win to move them back into first. Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. Great day to be out on the water. Great day to be in the ballpark. Great day to have Kenley Jansen come in. First time in 8 days. The Dodgers have used their all-star closer, and in a 4-0 game, they get him some work.
Not a save opportunity, but he's going to come out of this bullpen breathing fire like it's a 1-run lead. Closers convince themselves that that's what's going on when they've got to get themselves up for a game. They don't want to look at the scoreboard when it's this big of a lead. They've got to convince themselves that the game is on the line for every pitch.
Adam Duvall, who's third in the National League in home runs, taking strike one, and away we go with the ninth. Nolan Arenado has 30. Chris Bryant hit his 31st last night against Arenado's team in Denver. 470-foot homer up into the rocks at Coors Field. Duvall hard hit, fair ball or foul ball. Foul ball. Just outside the bag, 0-2. Is Bryant your MVP leader right now in the National League?
I think so. I think a lot of people are going to get votes, but I think he might get the most as of right now. He's going to split a few with Rizzo.
Yeah.
Our young man at shortstop's going to get a few.
Daniel Murphy will get some. Jansen opens the ninth with a strikeout of Duvall.
It's not the patented cutter, it's the four-seamer gas. So he tried to cut it a little bit, just got it up there. He's going to feel a little frisky with all the rest that he's had.
Is that a good thing?
It can be if he just channels it and still worries and makes the location a priority. Definitely feel good, and the adrenaline out there, and your arm's going to feel really good.
Here's Suarez. And there's strike one. Quickly ahead of him, 0-2. Kazmir and Bailey tomorrow. Series finale. Dodgers, if they can lock this one down, will be trying for a series split and will be trying for a winning road trip.
I like the pitch selection. That's the slider that he doesn't throw very often, but there's a good chance he could be in there tomorrow in a winning situation to get a save. And good thing to put that pitch in the back of the Reds' mind. Like, I might use this, I might break this out.
Kenley struck out Duvall to start the inning. It's 2-2 on Suarez with the bases empty and one gone. The 28-year-old from Curacao turned 29 in the final week of the regular season. Final year of his deal. Readies for a 2-2. Pulled to short, past Seager, base hit. Suarez red hot this weekend, 8 of 12.
Been hitting the ball hard, and he's also been finding holes. And this at bat, he does both. Just out of the reach of Corey Seager.
So now Von de Jesus Jr. Ground ball could end the game for Jansen and the Dodgers. With this outing, Jansen has matched last year's appearances total. He missed the first month and a half after the offseason foot surgery last year. One of those 54 appearances, though, like we talked about, came last night, and he never even appeared. He was announced, and then the rain came without him throwing a warm-up pitch, even approaching the mound to throw that warm-up pitch.
They didn't want him to reboot his engine after that long delay. Got all warmed up for that inning, then the storm clouds opened up, and they said, we're not going to make you reboot. You haven't been out there in a while, and this game's out of balance. You were just going out to get some work. Glad you had a nice bullpen session, but shut her down.
0-2. This was a big game today. Big game for the Dodgers. After losing 3 in a row for the first time since early July, they hadn't lost four in a row since mid-May. They dropped 6 of 9 and had fallen behind the Giants by a half game in the West. 2 outs away from being back in first. And 1 out away on Kenley's second strikeout of the 9th.
They started out great. Chase Utley led off the game with a home run. Julio Urias only giving us 6 innings, but that's a lot of innings because that's only the 4th time in 18 games in August that the Dodgers have gotten 6 innings or more out of a starter. Now Kenley Jansen trying to close the door on it.
Schebler's 1 for 3, or 0 for 1. He checked in for Tyler Holt, who was 1 for 2. And strike 1. Torres will have to go back to first. Who's going to take second on defensive indifference. Kenley Jansen wearing number 74 in honor of his roots. 74 was the street address of the house that he grew up on in Curacao. Used his first major league paychecks to pay that house off. His family. The second goes Suarez. 1 ball and 1 strike. Another big payday coming for Kenley this offseason with that deal up. One of the game's premier closers. One and 2.
95 miles an hour, having no trouble getting the adrenaline going in this game, even though he's up 4-0 and it's not a save situation.
Dodger fans making their voices heard. A lot of blue in the crowd today. 1 in the first, 2 in the third, and 1 in the 6th. Be their first shutout since the Boston series. It'd be only their second shutout since July 1st. The set and the 1-2.
Like to get it over right here. Keep that pitch count at about 16, 17 if it's necessary, just so you feel good tomorrow. Another day game tomorrow before they go home and hopefully have a happy flight.
And that does it. Jansen winds up getting 3 strikeouts in the inning. And the Dodgers have snapped their 3-game losing streak with a 4-0 win and are back in first in the West.
It's a big deal with the Giants playing on Sunday Night Baseball to post that W, show the losing streak's over, get a little momentum going into tomorrow, win tomorrow, and then focus in on those Giants.
Our Lexus player of the game is Julio Urias. Was it his best start, best stuff you've seen from him so far?
Definitely. The growth is there. The mechanics are much better. The pitches are crisper, and he went deep into the game. He was efficient.
So is this game under 3 hours after a couple of very long games between the teams over the first 2 games of the series. That